big-time sponsorship changes in the NASCAR garage, plus major rule changes for 2025 in NASCAR. Welcome back to the Breaking Bob channel. I'm sure this won't be a controversial video. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. I'm always talking NASCAR and racing on a daily basis here at Breaking Bob. Without further ado, though, let's jump right into it because this is an emergency episode. I got to go shovel some snow here in a second down here in the south. We've got a big-time sponsorship movement. First of all, if you haven't noticed, go on JGR, Joe Gibbs Racing's team page, go through the sponsorship. Who do you not see on there? Mavis Tire from Denny Hamlin in the 11 team. They were on the 11 car for 4 races in 2023, 8 races in 2024, and Denny Hamlin even alluded that Mavis could be a bigger presence in their team after FedEx departed in 2024, but it looks like they'll be losing 2 major sponsors in the 11 camp. I'm curious to see if Campbell's Soup fills a big void in that 11 car or if they start to piece it together with other different sponsors, but don't love that with Denny Hamlin losing 2 notable sponsors they've been filling his primary schemes the last few years. 2 notable, iconic sponsors for the 11 car in recent history. Staying in the JGR camp, Chase Briscoe did an AMA on Reddit, he's always on there, and confirmed that Mahindra will not be a part of that 19 team as he transitions to JGR in the footsteps of Martin Truex Jr.'s old seat. Mahindra, of course, a longtime sponsor of Briscoe with SHR before they closed their doors. A big-time tractor company based out of India. I guess maybe they didn't want to partner with Toyota. They do sell some cars over here badged almost like a Jeep, so I guess maybe they didn't want to compete with Toyota. I really don't know. It's kind of tough to see that, but I thought Chase Briscoe would bring them over. It looks like they'll have to fill that with Bass Pro along with other different sponsorships. Don't worry, though. It sounds like Mahindra could be staying in the Ford camp and in the NASCAR garage after all, though. NASCAR Rumor Nostalgia on Instagram, it's a rumor account, but it does put out a lot of credible info, said that you could see Mahindra on the number 4 of Front Row Motorsports and Noah Gragson. So maybe there is some synergy there with the old SHR team transitioning to Front Row Motorsports. You've got Noah Gragson in that new number 4 car rebadged from SHR's charter to Front Row Motorsports, and Mahindra could be one of these sponsors on Noah Gragson's number 4 moving forward. Again, not confirmed, but something to keep an eye on definitely. Okay, let's get into it. This is the main reason for this emergency episode. NASCAR has announced some major rule changes for the 2025 season. There's some good, there's some bad, there's some just head scratching here. So let's just jump right into it. Firstly, the damaged vehicle policy, the DVP policy. The clock is no more. Yes, you get 7 minutes to make repairs on pit road, but if you go to the garage, if you get towed, you're not going to have Joe Logano cursing out any track officials anymore. You can make repairs in the garage, unlimited time in the garage, and bring your car back out. The old days are back. Maybe we'll see some zombie cars out there taking up some lap traffic, 70 laps down in the middle of a race like the old days. But I think this makes so much sense. It's been very controversial. NASCAR's inconsistencies, I think, officiating that DVP policy this fall. You saw playoff drivers and non-playoff drivers both affected. Ryan Blaney, Josh Berry coming to mind immediately. I think this one makes a lot of sense, and I think that the whole garage can get behind it. Now, Jeff Gluck is reporting that the playoff waiver policy has changed. NASCAR is going to make sure Kyle Larson does not choose the Indy 500 over NASCAR ever again. If you need a non-medical waiver, if you miss a race, you will lose all of your playoff points at that point in time and for the future. So you will start the playoff race with 0 points. And that doesn't count just if you're missing a race. If you get suspended, if you right hook somebody, if you do something wrong on track and earn a suspension, you make the playoffs somehow with a waiver, you're going to be starting out at the very bottom with 0 no matter how good. If you won 25 out of the 26 races that you were not suspended in, doesn't matter. You're starting at 0. I think that this is a very interesting way to look at it from NASCAR's perspective. I don't know if this is vengeful against Kyle Larson, but definitely something that we'll see probably rear its ugly head at some point or time in the near future, I'm sure. Bob Pockrass also reporting that manufacturers can be penalized for violations of NASCAR rules. That's if, there's some funny business going on. We saw that at Martinsville with Austin Dillon holding up everyone with that carousel there. But you could be docked wind tunnel hours, manufacturer points. You could be suspended for technical violations. The NASCAR really did open up the book a little bit more instead of being in such a tight corner they put themselves in last fall with Martinsville in a tough scene with both William Byron and Christopher Bell there at the end. And here's the most controversial one of all, a NASCAR rule change that affects us in just a few short weeks for Daytona as its first attempt. Jeff Gluck is reporting that there is now an open exemption provisional. A well known driver who is a significant contributor from another series, NASCAR drivers are not eligible, now will automatically make any cup race. So Helio Castroneves is already qualified for the Daytona 500. Joseph Srigley did confirm with NASCAR, and Trackhouse has requested and been approved for that open exemption provisional for Helio Castroneves. So Helio is going to be racing the Daytona 500 no matter what the duels look like, no matter what he does in the ARCA race as his warm-up. He will be racing in the Great American Race as an extra car, a 41st car, Jeff Gluck is reporting. This isn't him bumping anyone. He's getting an extra entry. Now, look, I'm all for getting 43 cars into the field. I think that that's what it should be anyway. 40 cars is just wasting a couple of spots in the Daytona 500 when you have so many cars trying to enter nowadays. But to just give Helio a spot, that just doesn't sit right with me. Could you imagine years ago at the Indy 500, Fernando Alonso sitting there on bump day and just gets in because, oh, well, it's Fernando Alonso. He's a big name. He's a big draw. No, he got bumped out by a small team in a David versus Goliath method with McLaren. And it was a great story in motorsports, not for Fernando Alonso fans, but for IndyCar fans. It was such a notable moment that shows anyone can qualify for the 500, and Daytona should be the same way. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below about the rule changes, and of course, this 41st extra car for any NASCAR Cup race if anyone wants to do it. So Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, if you want to come over here. Pato Award, Valentino Rossi, your spot is open for Bristol if you want to come through. NASCAR has made that precedence with one of these new rules for 2025. I don't know. Anyway, if you're new here, subscribe to Breaking Bob, like this video. It helps me out a ton here on YouTube moving forward. Stay tuned for more here because you never know what NASCAR is going to throw at you next year. Stay tuned, folks.